Something strange is going on over at Disney. It's almost like they're doing this weird thing that they haven't done in a very long time. They might be learning, they might be assessing the societal winds and changing accordingly. Well, they're not making like big leaps and bounds when it comes to changes in the messaging that they're pushing. Obviously, like the activists still writing all of these scripts, making these quote unquote characters, like they're still going to do exactly what they're going to be doing. But when it comes to high level edicts, there are a couple of things that could be on the horizon, and it's actually a good thing. Be a little bit optimistic, shall we? Former ESPN host slams Bob Iger for asking The View to tone down political discourse and Trump bashing. Oh shit, Disney going back to just simply entertaining. It's a shame they can't actually do that with anything that they create, but at least attempting to get less political? Well, you gotta give them at least a little bit of credit for doing something right. And the fallout of Disney's quiet push to tone down the political discourse and Trump bashing on The View continues. And this time, it's coming from within the extended Disney family. Former ESPN host Jemele Hill, yeah, I remember, like, she used to be somewhat level-headed. Now, this is all before Trump, like, before 2015, when I would watch, like, what was she on? Was she on Around the Horn or something like that? Back when, ESPN was actually something that you would seek out and watch when sports talk radio. But that's always been pretty obnoxious. But with some of those novelty shows, like even Pardon the Interruption, like it was actually worth your time. But yeah, Jemele Hill was on a couple of those, and she was all right. There's a couple of those other, was it Bomani Jones? He ended up becoming just a full-on activist, but he was pretty funny on those. But anyways, publicly criticized Bob Iger over the weekend, speaking out against reports that he and ABC News president Alman, asked The View host to cut back on political rhetoric, particularly segments targeting President Donald Trump. Hill, who previously worked under Iger during her controversial ESPN tenure, didn't hold back. Oh my God, what did you get her? When she was panhandling outside of a Salvation Army. Okay, Trump is obviously, again, using his position as president to put pressure on these media companies, and I think a lot of them are capitulating and feeling the pressure. Are you having a laugh? No, it's these companies realizing that, having overt messaging, because the quality of their storytelling really hasn't improved at all. But you take a look around at even the biggest films of this year, like there's nothing overtly political about the Minecraft movie. That was just a bad film, okay? But there was no messaging. If that was a film that would have been released in like 2020, I don't think you would have had that forgettable kid, and Jason Momoa probably wouldn't have been Jason Momoa. Probably would have got Lizzo or something like that. Or even Captain Black Falcon America, man. Like you could very easily see, like obviously that thing was just, edited to hell and back. There was like 8 different versions of that movie just stapled together. But the one that they concocted, it was bad. Okay, totally and completely bereft of merit. But it wasn't overtly political. So yeah, it's like they're clawing back some sensibility. That's not just because Trump magically got back into the White House. It's because people, they were kind of tired with all this bullshit. And that was what Hill said during CNN's Table for Five. Oh, CNN, ripping off Fox News concept? Interesting. Very interesting. Do the ratings support that you should stop talking about Donald Trump? Probably not. Well, you don't even know, stupid. Because I'll be completely honest, like CNN, obviously, we know that their ratings are a disaster. I don't think anybody even knows if MSNBC is either still for sale or still on the air at this point in time. And when it comes to just general political discussion, nobody's really all that enthusiastic about what's going on. Like, there's a lot to discuss when it comes to Trump, but every time he announces another round of tariffs, does anybody really take it seriously? And with all the wars and proxy wars going on right now, we actually see pen put to paper and some of those ceasefires begin. Nobody's really that enthusiastic, but I digress. Hill's question about ratings may not have the answer she was hoping for. While The View enjoyed a brief surge in viewership following Trump's re-election in November of 2024, drawing over 4.4 million viewers the day after the election, those numbers quickly dropped. By May of 2025, average weekly viewership had fallen back to around 2.3 million, just barely ahead of Fox News' The Faulkner Focus. Fucking a D-level show if I've ever heard one, because I've never even heard of that show before, okay, which overtook The View in the ratings for the first time earlier this year. ABC insiders say that the viewer fatigue over nonstop political content played a role in executive discussions about rebalancing the show's format. Yeah, exactly. Just go back to cackling about, I don't even know what The View talks about. The only time that I ever see them, pop up is when, either Sonny Hostin or Anna Navarro says something retarded about immigrants, or Whoopi Goldberg says something, crazy Kanye West adjacent. But Bob Iger attempting to right the ship when it comes to narrative discourse? Didn't necessarily have that on my bingo card, because remember, this is the guy in some leaked audio that came out was too busy dislocating his shoulder by patting himself on the back by saying that he cured racism with Black Panther. Like, fucking hell. And comparing and contrasting that with reports, especially over at Marvel, because we could take a look at the other branches under the Disney umbrella, okay? I guess, what branches on the Disney tree, if we can go ahead and get our analogy correct. Lucasfilm, yeah, that's a lost cause, okay? And when it comes to prominent studios under Disney's stewardship, I would say Lucasfilm is probably right close to the bottom, okay? Like, I don't think that there's any relevance left in those brands. ABC, ESPN, a little bit higher up, and then you got Pixar, and they've been rewarded for getting rid of, what was it? It was a tranny storyline in one of their streaming shows. I don't know if that's come out yet, but yeah, last year they had the biggest film of the year that was also bereft of messaging, and that was before Trump, so make that one make sense. But obviously, still, their most marketable brand, their most marketable studio is, of course, Marvel. And after hearing years and years of Bob Iger wanting to go down with the ship in regards to continuing to push the message, Kevin Feige, the head of Marvel, was also been quoted, okay, from behind the scenes saying, "I've done my duty for king and country in regards to diversity." He really wants to course correct. He wants to go ahead and focus on good old-fashioned storytelling and make this one make sense, because apparently Feige and Bob Iger clashing over the X-Men. Oh god, what the hell is going to happen with the X-Men? Because we just talked about this not that long ago, that there's a 10-year plan for the X-Men. Feige, as he was a producer for those original Fox X-Men films, he has a very strong love of the X-Men, and he wants to do them right, but apparently he wants to be awfully political and awfully socially aware about doing it. Meanwhile, Bob Iger is like, yo, cut the shit. We got a surefire victory with the X-Men. Just fucking do it right, stupid. But as we have here, Feige and Iger reportedly clash over the X-Men movie direction. Disney scrambles for a blockbuster while Feige wants more social commentary. I beg your pardon. New rumors suggest a behind-the-scenes battle is brewing over Marvel's long-awaited X-Men reboot, with Feige and Iger reportedly at odds over the tone and focus of the upcoming film. According to insiders cited by X, user Main Middleman, and reported by Cosmic Book News, the creative clash may determine whether Marvel's mutants return to ideological avatars or as a crowd-pleasing box office titans. At the center of the Feige-Iger X-Men debate is a vision for what the new era of mutants should represent. Yeah, because we also heard that some other scoopers out there think that Marvel is eyeing black actors for Professor X and for Magneto. Cynthia Erivo, the Wicked Witch from Wicked, could be Storm. I still think that, Rachel Zegler is going to be Jubilee, or maybe even Rogue at this point in time. I kind of think that they're going to go pants on head stupid when it comes to this stuff, but we'll see. Feige, who has overseen the MCU since its inception, that's not entirely true, okay? He just got control after Civil War, not like an internal Civil War where, oh my god, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are just looking to overthrow Kathleen Kennedy. It's not nothing stupid like that, but no, Captain America, Civil War. That's when Kevin Feige successfully ousted Ike Perlmutter and got full control of the MCU, and you could see actually a precipitous downturn in quality right after that. Interesting correlation there. Allegedly pushed for a grounded, socially charged story about mutant identity, prejudice, and the philosophical rift between the X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants. Yep, that's the part of this equation where, you start delving into the more overt, Professor X is like Martin Luther King, and Magneto is like Malcolm X. It's like, oh god, that revisionist history schlock, instead of just simply telling a fucking X-Men story. But that concept will follow in the footsteps of many recent Marvel offerings that leaned heavily into contemporary political metaphors and social themes. And how well have all of them done? Alright, not well at all. Because here's another film that nobody really talks about, but made over $1 billion. Deadpool and Wolverine. It didn't have any overt political messaging. It was just a bad movie, but it was successful because it could go ahead and jangle enough keys to get people into the studio with a bunch of member berries. But Iger, facing mounting pressure from shareholders due to diminished MCU box office returns, appears to be pushing a different direction. The string of box office disappointments, the Marvels, Quantumania, which outside of like Cassie Lang being exceptionally see you next Tuesday, didn't really have political messaging in it. Janet, I don't know, man. Like, she's just kind of silly in the movie, but that's just, I would just chalk that up to a really awful scriptwriter in Jeff Loveness. But the Thunderbolts, yep, that's a failure, and Brave New World also, but Disney's top brass is reportedly demanding a return to high-stakes, high-octane event films designed to reignite mass audience interest. Yeah, just how about tell a good story? How about have good characters that aren't assassinated by inexperienced scriptwriters? How about that? How about that? Is that too much to ask? This echoes recent history. Under Iger's renewed leadership, Disney has slashed underperforming Disney Plus content, cut Marvel's release slate. Not really, because they said, well, we're going to focus on quality, not quantity, but still release 3 movies a year. Interesting. And shifted to focus back to theatrical blockbusters after admitting that audiences have grown weary of content for content's sake. Iger has already proven that he's willing to course correct, gutting Chapek's distribution model, canceling greenlit projects, and firing executives like Victoria Alonso after public missteps. Yup, but here's one thing he's going to have to do, okay? If you really want to go ahead and course correct, get rid of the guy that has driven the fucking franchise into the ground. Kevin Feige is a dork, and like Rob Liefeld, co-creator of Deadpool, said, he is spent. Get him off the mound. Whatever talent he had has been lost in the sauce. I'd imagine the calls for his job are going to become a little bit stronger after Fantastic Four flops this summer because of the big 3 films that are coming out in July: Jurassic World Rebirth, Superman, and Fantastic Four. I would put strong money, especially at this point in time, on Fantastic Four being a distant 3rd place behind Superman, and I still don't think that's going to break $1 billion, and only Jurassic World Rebirth, funnily enough, starring the former Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson, is going to end up taking the crown. For a Fantastic Four movie with a healthy MCU would have been far and away the biggest hit. But no. You want to double down on activists like Pedro Pascal. You want to have a return to the MCU forum with a invisible woman-led story. You go for it, and you go ahead and reap exactly what you fucking sow and continue to kick the Avengers can down the road so that you can eventually figure out what in the blue hell you're going to be doing with this dilapidated brand. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.